Mods in games, something generally associated when it comes to PC versions of games where fans are able to mod the game in order to pretty much try and add new stuff into it or just have some fun with it. So it depends on the skill they're going for. So some mods could be like, hey, I want to add this character into this game, so now this character is in this game to the power of a mod. Or there could be entire games that were created specifically because their origin point was a mod. Like, I know the game DayZ is the big example where its origin point was a mod for the game Arma and everything, and it just became its own whole entire thing. And went from Arma 2 mod to an entire game that I'm not even sure the game ever officially came out at any point, and I think about it. Last time I checked, it was early access, so not sure this thing even came out, but get the idea. Some mods are grand, some mods just do cool stuff like translate the game to a different language for people, because yes, I am cutting fan translations as mods. Now, there were instances where companies tried to have mods in console releases that didn't really go over well, or when Steam tried to have mods become a paid feature, which also didn't go over well because it meant someone could just steal someone else's mod and then try and charge for it, or the most smallest of mods could be a paid experience or a whole entire thing. So that turned into a whole entire mess. Granted, I know there are some fans who get mad when modders do put their mods behind some form of paywall, and it's like, get over it, people. They want to do that, they can freaking do that and everything. But when it comes to a legality issue where, you know, some people question, are mods even allowed for games? Some companies try their best to squash any mod of any kind. Like I said, there's entire games that had origin points as mods. First one I'll mention is the fan translation mod for Persona 2 Eternal Punishment on PSP, with the team behind it being Emote, Seiuchi, and Dartist, but they also got permission to use the entire scenario translation that was from Strange Shrimp and Oseki Ayu. They do acknowledge that a lot of the script for fan translation is basically modifying stuff from the original PS1 localization from Atlas at the time, but it's just one of those whole entire thing where they decided, rather than rewrite the entire game's main scenario script from scratch, to adapt what was already existing. Also put special thanks to CJ Iwakara and their team, because the whole entire fact of, I mean, there was a bit of drama about this fan translation, mostly because there was a different team that had been working on it for years, and then suddenly this came out of nowhere. But they do know this worked like continuing work produced by them, but they thanked them for the discussion collaboration they had during early development. But with thanks to this team, the version of Persona 2 Eternal Punishment on PSP can now be played in English. So I wanted to follow up here because fan translation does mean modifying the game in some way, shape, or form, with this version also allowing compatibility with save files from the English PSP version of Innocent Sin as well, to transfer over your save data. So it was just a very cool entire thing to come out, and everything, and then a whole entire playthrough on the channel of this fan translation, because I was so happy when it actually happened. The fan translation for Boktai 3, Saboteur's Counterattack, being handled by Spike Man, Darth Nemesis, and Lord Hufflepuff. People who worked hard in order to get this fan translation out there, which again, I very much appreciate, since this game never got localized by Konami, but they then localized Little Knights afterwards because screw logic and everything. But it was just a whole entire cool aspect when the fan translation got made, and I love the fact that they also included themselves in the game's credits as well. That was a nice addition. It doesn't feel like part of the team. Granted, there are still some people who have been working further with the fan translation in order to do stuff like also removing the Japanese text fully from the game, making it fully in English, since there's still a lot of Japanese text in the game, but the main scenario can be played fully in English thanks to the effort of this modding team. Last fan translation I'll mention in this video, I swear, but it's the one for Ace Attorney Investigations 2, Prosecutor's Path, the second Miles Edgeworth game that nowadays has official localization, but years ago didn't. So it was for many years where the only way to play it was through the efforts of a fan translation group, with the group comprising of a lot of names here, so work with me: Hickey37, Hack Dilapek, Jewel, Orin, Big Clingy, Choki, and Forza, Tanaka Hoji, Rune Bear, Jin, Muracy, Dowolf, Bad Player, Maria-chan, Kimchi314, Crazed Ninja, Ouija, Sonic Shadow, Bionic Hero, Dragonite, ProZD, Wellington 2K, Merston, Elfo, Jinai, Hamster, Per Se, Shiro09, and Purple Handprint. An entire huge group, and some of those also being voice actors who were in the project to do the English shouts for the characters in this fan translation. So this was a huge team effort when it comes to working on this, and the fact that not only is it just a super cool project, it's also the fact that the way they wrote it managed to stay really in spirit to the kind of writing style localization when it comes to the Ace Attorney franchise. So even cooler with that whole entire aspect, everything. I mean, to the point where some people who prefer this fan translation, or at least the fan translated names, to the official ones in, we eventually got a Miles Edgeworth collection, but I said I want to shout out this project because without them, at least back then, I would have gotten to play what is currently my favorite Ace Attorney title. I lied. Do you really think I wouldn't mention the Final Fantasy V fan translation, which was cited as one of the first, if not the first, fan translation in video games, because people just really wanted to play Final Fantasy V, have more people play Final Fantasy V, so they got skipped over back in the day, and we look at some PlayStation 1 entry. Of course, I gotta mention the fact that Final Fantasy V got a fan translation. It's also why there are some people who refer to the character Cryo as Kara, because the fan translation named her Kara, because they weren't really sure how to exactly translate the name, everything. But of course, I gotta mention that what's her fan translation, because the story behind it is just crazy. And there is the book by, I believe, by Boss Fight Books on Final Fantasy V that was authored by one of the people who did help make that fan translation into existence. So of course, I gotta mention how much of a big deal it was for Final Fantasy V to get a fan translation because of the fact of it got skipped over, people wanted to play it, and also the fact of just the story behind it and everything. So yes, I mentioned Final Fantasy V fan translation. I lied. There's the last fan translation I'll mention. The Windows Generations mod for some generations. A mod that makes everything to normal on Windows, specifically constantly blue screening Windows, with the idea to portray the two Sonics as two different versions of Windows, even when other characters also take different forms of Windows. But one of the big things is the fact that it also alters Sonic's controls because he's not completely overpowered. He just has super high jump height and faster boost than normal, on top of the completely distorted and wacky animations when it comes to it, which just makes trying to beat the level even more difficult and everything. It's just like completely over the top and wacky mod. I'm trying to alter some of the boss designs and everything, trying to be with this one entire theming of Windows and everything. But just, it's just an insane mod. Even has changed different music as well for it. With the mod being uploaded by Powder and Matrix fan on YouTube, and also the fact that it says put credit to Hello Arbor 117 for the idea of this weird mod, and also credits to Mega Man is Crazy for the Windows Vista bio as well. But this mod is just flippin' insanely goofy and freaking, I loved it back then for how over the top ridiculous it is, and it still is over the top ridiculous. One of those Sonic mods that never really see people really talk about when it comes to one other aspect of crazy Sonic mods, in this case for the original Sonic Generations PC ports. Next one I'll mention is a community fan patch for Tales of Hysteria on PC, with the main feature of this being the fact that it increases the game's frame rate, although in my experience, don't make the frame rate out to the combat 60 FPS because certain aspects of the game start falling apart when that happens. But in my experience, the 60 FPS combat fix does in fact work, with this patch being known as TZ Fix that was created by Caldian, but also includes contributions from Dr. Daxi and Durante. Durante is generally well known in the modding sphere for PC ports of games and everything, so it was cool that that name evolved, but said this was designed in order to fix some issues with hysteria on PC. Main thing being 60 FPS, but also other things such as some UI fixes, frame pacing issues, everything. So stuff like that, or just make the experience better, and also better than it was on the console version, because hysteria kind of irked people since Tales of generally tries to have 60 FPS in combat but 30 FPS in the overworld, but Hysteria just has 30 FPS in the entire game, period, which just made people go, okay, but why is it like this? Especially since it's also a cross-gen title coming out on PlayStation 3, but also on PlayStation 4, and yet the PlayStation 4 and PC versions, we're still having the same 30 FPS lock, just like the PS3 versions. Granted, not an excuse because granted to have Xillia 1, Xillia 2, also 60 FPS combat on the PS3 as well. There are many amounts of Sonic Mania I could pick, but I'm gonna pick the Sonic Mania Etsuri Miku Extend, an entire mod that was worked on by Tracker_TD, Tiniest of Turtles, Transistor Syndication, Matrix Mario X, Robot Faker, Cool 64, Raldom, and Sokia, particularly because this mod not only just adds Hatsune Miku into the game using our Sonic module, but it also just remixes stages and boss music, on top of basically having its own fun little storyline it wants to follow, instead of just being a character swap. It changes so much of the game in order to make this more Miku style thing, and gives it its own different ending from how the game actually ends up concluding. This is a fun thing that I really liked it. Wanted to show it off years ago for a video, but that video ended up getting scrapped for one reason or another, whole entire thing. So hey, at least now I get to showcase and talk about it here, especially since now this is one that's compatible with Sonic Mania Plus as well, so there's even more things to use it with, which is freaking cool to have. Gotta mention this one, so my friends have been using it, which is the Seamless Co-op mod for Elden Ring. An entire mod dedicated to trying just adding a big co-op experience to Elden Ring, which technically does have a co-op experience, but it's not one built for the long term, as other Souls games being the same thing. This mod also means it pretty much removes the invasion system as well, so that one term mechanic is just gone. People saying this mod also basically being the reason why invasions on PC have been low. Whoops. But the mod was made by Luke Yui, although they do add special things to also note alpha testers like Joby, Inonori, Emilia, Remy ZK, Amra, Gate, Ish Lexi, Hubbletom, Ebi, Hectic, Prepare, Adopt a Cat, Joda Kujo, Alpaca as well, and special thanks to Tremwe for advice and point of assistance on the code, and Ouroboros from the PvP matchmaking. So there is a lot of people that had to help when it came to just try to get this thing to actually work in terms of testing it out, and it's still not a flawless experience, as many people can attest, me and my friends as well, with some of the stuff just either breaking in one way or another, but it is also a big experience and also a mod, so one of those things where the game was exactly built for this whole entire aspect of everything, but it's just super cool that this mod even exists, that kind of thing of make a co-op experience, and clearly there was demand for a co-op experience since FromSoftware will later make Elden Ring and Night Rain as well, so clearly people did want a big cooperative experience within the world of Elden Ring. Why are we here? Nope. Jesus
Christ! Got him.
What?
He lived? Frenzy.
He lived! He fucking lived! How the fuck? Yo, can I live?
No.
Got it. I'm fucking following in his footsteps. YOLO! YOLO! I better live too, babe! I better live too! He lived!
Chris, did he get the shield?
I got it. Fucking game!
There are so many mods for Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. Fans keep that game alive to this day. It is crazy what fans can do with that game. But if I had to pick just one mod, specifically a campaign, it would be Death Mountain by Knick Knack. A pretty detailed recreation, not only the Death Mountain from Legends of the Ocarina of Time, but also the Fire Temple itself, even having a Fire Temple boss at the end, and the Fire Dancer. But the number one thing I remember it for is the fact that there's an entire Easter egg with the Fire Dancer you can get in this campaign. That is so ridiculous. Me and a friend were just completely stunned and had no way of even responding to the goofiness happening on screen. So the modder Knick-Knack really had fun making this, just to include as a little cool Easter egg in the whole entire campaign. You know, it's based off of Ocarina of Time. It's just a really cool one that always sticks to my mind, especially since it starts at Kakariko Village and then progressively goes up Death Mountain into the Fire Temple and defeating the Fire Temple boss.
Holy jeez. It's time to get down. Oh my.
Hey, I'm reloading.
While my mind processes this bootleg even for me.
This mod by RebTD7 is a mod designed to just help get Final Fantasy XIII working more smoothly, considering its port on PC it's mixed, and the follow-up 13.2 has an even worse port. But it also knows it is a fork of 1-tweak NGs on traditional Final Fantasy XIII, but is a mod that people generally see as something more necessary to enjoy Final Fantasy XIII on PC, which is to pretty much just fix the game's issues, such as the big ones infamous for being the fact that the game only uses like 2 gigabytes total rather than using your full PC. Like it's limited on using 2 gigabytes of RAM, despite how much RAM your PC may have, and it basically is the fact that the port is the fact that it doesn't use the full capacity of your computer. So your computer can be more than enough to handle the game, but the game will just ignore that part. So this whole entire idea where it's just done to try and get the game to actually function better, everything, which many PC games end up needing patches like that, whether it be because of the PC port's outdated or the PC port's just bad, with Square Enix in general, in my book, being a case of they have a 50-50 shot of their PC ports actually functioning. This was one I remember getting articles back in the day for, but it's just a mod for Legend of the Wind Waker that just has the characters refer to Link as a girl. That's it. That's the entire mod. It's basically just hacking the text in order to change it to where instead of calling Link he, him, they refer to Link as she, her. Why? It's because the mod creator Mike Hoy did it because he wanted to have experience catered more towards his daughter, so he decided to just go through the effort of hacking the game's text just so they instead to refer to Link as female instead of male. That is a lot of dedication, and I hope things are going well for that dad, because let's say that's a lot of dedication just for that one change for his daughter. But this the mod ended up getting articles written about it because of just the sheer lengths Mike Hoy was willing to go through just to have a game, just to make the game edited so his daughter can feel more included as the hero of the game. Even if Link is meant to be linked to the player, kind of wants her substance, but you know, a lot of effort being put into this, and they did release it publicly so people can use it via Dolphin emulator as well, and which is one entire aspect. So once again, that's just the love of a parent towards his child, and that is freaking cool thing. I know there are so many mods out there that I could mention, even mods for console titles, like I know a big one for Smash Bros, stuff like Project M and everything, or even how Super Smash Bros for Wii U had modded characters. Hell, fighting games in general just have people making modded characters, especially the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 scene and everything, but I'm trying to limit it to stuff I'm trying to be seen and everything, because like I said, this could go on for so long. My friend has a segment of mods that he personally enjoys, but I'm just trying to narrow it down here for that giant scale. Like I said, there are some companies that don't like people modding the game for one reason or another. The whole entire aspect, which is more of a, well, friends are gonna do whatever the hell they want kind of thing. So go out there, play games, whether they have mods or not. or if they have some cool mods that enhance the experience for you. Like I said, it's primarily a PC-only feature, but there are some games I think not sure if Bethesda Workshop still exists on console and everything, where they try to integrate mods into console experience, which again is a massive can of worms in terms of legality and also in terms of the entire aspect of, will the game still function properly? Alrighty then, so I gotta say, good day. Changed my mind, gonna showcase 2 more mods. One of them is the Final Fantasy V World 1 hack by Climax, where this one makes it so that way every time a character levels up, it changes their job, which not only has the randomness of that, it also means the fact that every time you level up, you have to remember to re-equip the character, since their equipment can't carry over since certain jobs certain restrictions, which is my only gripe, the fact that they keep re-equipping the characters every time, and I may not have equipment for them, especially early on. But it's balanced out by the chaosity of all the different jobs they have and go through, like the fact that I got to the first boss fight of Final Fantasy V with Bart as a Berserker, and this boss fight is a segment where you're supposed to not attack it. Bart will not stop attacking, and somehow he lived to tell the tale at the end of that fight. Second boss, where I was stuck with Lena unconscious, Ferris the Time Mage, and 2 Berserkers who won't stop attacking, who basically had to carry the fight since they didn't have time magic, and they're the only ones who can do attack. And somehow, in some way, those 2 berserking sons of bitches actually survived. So just the randomness of what could possibly happen with each level up, especially when multiple characters level up at once, it will keep changing their job, and this ROM hack is just an entertaining one. It's also, I believe, a partially bit inspired by the 4-job Fiesta thing, where fans will essentially make a challenge run when they only use 4 jobs with the entirety of Final Fantasy V, but here, your choice just stripped away, and it's just the insanity of whatever RNG decides to give you, and it is an entertaining one. Once again, the mod is by Climax. This next one is very recent, and it is the Thomas the Tank Engine mod for Resident Evil Requiem. Now, why am I shouting out Thomas the Tank Engine mod, which is generally done almost every game, up there with Siege of San Andreas being modded into almost every game? That is because the reason for this mod is designed to specifically mod over a certain boss for Resident Evil Requiem, because of the fact of, if you have arachnophobia like I do, the boss fight would be complete hell. But I've also seen Resident Evil fans happy the boss fight exists because they've been waiting so long for another giant spider opponent, so if a boss fight like that is great for them. But certain people like me have arachnophobia and cannot stand looking at a spider whatsoever, so this mod was made. And it only has articles written about it, and I've seen people making dumb complaints like, why would you play a horror game not to be horrified? Well, there's a difference between being horrified and having your phobia used against you. And I'd be like pretty much like saying I can pretty much threaten to hit you with a bat if you die in the game. That's horror, ain't it? You're scared of the bat, aren't you? But it's like, you know, not the kind of horror a person goes into looking for and everything. So this mod was made just to replace a spider with Thomas the Tank Engine, which to some people is already a different kind of horror since it's a staring, unblinking face on a tank now bulldozing you. But like I said, there are some people who complain about it. It's like, it's people modding, they can do whatever the hell they want, get over it. I've seen more complaints for this mod, and the fact that someone idea one of the first mods already Requiem is just to make Grace's boobs bigger. Like, let's talk about Tank Engine mod something on purpose here.
Modding can be a wonderful thing when it comes to video games. Not to say there's anything wrong with the original vanilla vision of a game, but sometimes modding just makes it that much more fun. So modding for Left 4 Dead 1 was really a pain in the ass. It wasn't as simple as Left 4 Dead 2's modding is. So for Left 4 Dead 1, the way back in the day to mod the game was to use an application called Notepad++, where you would find the specific texture file you wanted to change the name of it, then after that drag the VPK into the folder and save it. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. I have followed instructions and tutorials down to a T, and no matter what I changed, nothing would work. So it was rare for some mods in Left 4 Dead 1 to work. Sound files were not a problem because for those ones it was just a simple case of drag and drop, but for texture mods those were hell. So the few mods that I was able to get working back in the day for Left 4 Dead 1, was for Zoey. This one is called Covert Ops TeenAngst. So I just thought the outfit looked nice on Zoey. There's not really not much to it. It's just a simple skin retexture of her outfit. I just thought it looked cool. The next one, which I also used on Zoey, which I was really a fan of, was called Let Me Live Zoey. I like the way that this one looked as well. I always shifted between Covert Ops and this one, because I thought both the Zoey skins looked pretty cool. Now, the next one that I really liked was War Dog Bill for Left 4 Dead 1. Oh my goodness, this one I felt suited Bill very well. Like, he has fingerless gloves, his outfit looks a little bit more darker, his pants are sort of like bluish, and I don't know, it just felt like I felt like it personally suited Bill more. Now for Lois, they have a tactical white outfit. Basically, it just gives him a vest over his shirt, and you can give him facial hair. It's optional. Sometimes the mod fuses everything into one, but for the ones I was using, I had the choice to keep Lois as shaven or if I wanted to give him facial hair. So I give him a mix of some facial hair with the vest, and I don't know, I just thought he looked cool. And then the fingerless gloves, I'm a huge fan of fingerless gloves when it comes to outfit choices, so fingerless gloves were always a plus for me. And then for Francis, this one was called Francis BLS. His body type makes it look like a cleaner biker getup, because normally Francis's arms are coated in tattoos, but in this one he's like, he has one more tattoo. It's like he's more clean in the arm, more organized. I'm sorry, I'm lacking for a better word here. I just like the outfit. I like how he looks overall. Optional face mod as well to like have him have one tattoo on his neck. I don't know, to me like this one just makes him look much more cleaner, and it just personally I like, it was pleasing, it was aesthetically pleasing for me to look at. Then this one, the last one I want to talk about that really stood out to me was Shredded Tank for Left 4 Dead 1. Because in Left 4 Dead 2, there's a mod I use called Mutilated Tank, which makes him look fucking creepy. But in Left 4 Dead 1, I don't think they backwards ported it or whatever, or at least I can't find it. So I remember I used a Shredded Tank as a backup, and it still does the job. Like, the tank looks fucking creepy. Combine that with all the custom music that I would just do on my own. Oh my god, it was really a hell of a time. Now, Left 4 Dead 2's modding scene was way more easy and simpler than Left 4 Dead 1's modding scene was. Thanks to Steam Workshop, you can simply download and install add-ons right there and then, or if you want to do the old process of dragging and dropping mods from add-ons that you download on the web pages, it was just easy, just like that. Simply drag and drop and call it a day. No more Notepad++ editing, thank the Lord, because that was hell. So in Left 4 Dead 2, there are tons of mods that tickle my fancy. However, I'm going to be narrowing it down to the very few that I predominantly still use to this day and really stood out to me the most. The ones that I want to mention are Left 4 Bot's Improved AI and 8 Survivors, as you can see by the footage I'm showing, as well as the skins that I'll mention. So, first off, Smarter Bots, as the name implies, makes the bots more intelligent than how they are vanilla-wise. Vanilla-wise, they're dumbasses. But with this mod, they are almost on par with human players. So the bots can throw throwables, which vanilla-wise they cannot do. So you can have the bots throwing Molotovs, pipe bombs, vomit jars. As well, the bots can use defibrillators to resurrect a dead teammate or a dead player, which the bots cannot do vanilla-wise. And the bots can also continue the game should the human player die, because vanilla-wise, when the human player dies, the bot cannot take over. The game automatically ends. So with this mod, that negates that, and even if the human player were to die, the bots can continue playing without you, and their pathing is excellent. You know, in vanilla maps, I can't speak the same for when it comes to custom maps, but vanilla maps, they can figure their way out around, and they can eventually make it to the safe room. Likewise, the bots can also use the heavier weapons, which they cannot do vanilla-wise. Bots can use grenade launchers, they can use the M60 Gatling gun, etc. They can also perform finales. As I was trying to set up in the console here to tell the AI director to stop so I can have a smoother finale transition, the Lisa bot, she triggered the Carnival finale, and I got caught off guard by that because it's been a while since I played Left 4 Dead, so I forgot about that. I was like, oh my gosh, she just triggered the finale. And same thing when it comes to finales with gas canisters that you have to like refuel or collect gas canisters. The bots can actually do that. They can either go collect it and will literally throw it to you so you can use it, or they themselves will pour it in and refuel the canisters. So that was a pretty cool addition as well. Then the 8 Survivors mod, which vanilla-wise, it would be the Left 4 Dead 2 and the Left 4 Dead 1 Survivors in the same maps. Now, I don't know if it's because I have multiple mods installed, but the same cannot be said if you would do the Left 4 Dead 1 campaigns and Left 4 Dead 2. It clones the Left 4 Dead 1 Survivors. It does not spawn the Left 4 Dead 2 Survivors. Don't know if that's a modding issue. Don't know if that's a me issue because I have a lot of mods there. Who knows? But regardless, you have 8 survivors, and as you also see, I coded them with custom skins of characters that I found relevant to my particular liking. So as you can see right here, my team comprises of Clara, which is, spoiler alert, Ada clone from RE6, Ada Wong herself from the Resident Evil series, Jill Valentine from the Resident Evil series, Harley Quinn from the Batman series, Lisa Garland from Silent Hill 1, Jinx from League of Legends, and Lara Croft from the Tomb Raider series. And I am just vanilla Nick. I did have a James Sunderland mod over Nick, but there's only so much that the engine can handle, and I don't know which mod was causing it, but too many of these high textured mods makes the engine crash and overload, and it would just not continue playing the game. So I've had numerous game crashes because the engine simply cannot handle it. It would literally say out of space or out of memory or whatever. And then likewise, in the poster that you may see back there is Linkin Park, which Linkin Park is a favorite band of mine. So Linkin Park replacing the vanilla music in Dark Carnival, which is the Midnight Riders, a fictional group made for this game. And yeah, I had cycled through a plethora of other IP characters in this game, like Samus Aran, who replaces Rochelle / Zoey. Unfortunately, I had to remove her because I wanted Lisa on my team, and Lisa is only available as Zoey or Rochelle, so it'll be a conflict. I can't have Samus and Lisa at the same time. I also have Maria from Silent Hill in here at one point, but I had to remove it because again, she was only on Zoey / Rochelle. I wanted Lisa, so it can't be done. Now you may ask yourself, alright, then how did you get these other females to be on the male survivors? Well, on this map called left4deadmaps.com, the creator right here, which I will link and show an image of, this person is responsible for making it to where the skins are available on all the survivors. So I'm always scouting the page, seeing if there's any relevant characters that I like or know that I would like to bring into Left 4 Dead and make room for them. So here is where I download the majority of the mods. You know, if it's not here, again, I'll provide the proper Steam Workshop list. So you got your characters here that you can't find either on Steam or not, or, you know, like for Steam, some of the characters are literally just replacements for the set character, while in here, outside of Steam, I can find a replacement for all said characters. And as for voice-wise, I didn't want to have them being, you know, the actual voices. Like, I didn't want to hear Bill Lois Francis, Coach Ellis voice out of the female characters. That's just my immersion, you know, I want to be immersed. So what I used to do back in the day, which I still do, which is an old school method, is that you download it, and I don't recall where I got these from, but you pretty much would copy Zoe's voice, rename them to the proper survivor's voice that you're trying to replace, and then it would be Zoe's voice. So yes, I am hearing Zoe's voice over and over repetitively on top of each other with all these female survivors. Now, given the current day and age that we're in, you know, one could say, oh, why don't you just use AI to replicate the voices of said characters? You could do that, but I've gotten way too used to hearing Zoe 10 billion times, and that's just kind of stood with me, and it's better to have consistent lines. So even if I'm hearing Zoe, like, echo herself 10,000 times, like, pills here, grab an adrenaline shot, or whatever, you know, to me, it's personally better than hearing, like, a monotone flat, like, hey, weapons over here, I am grabbing a first aid kit. Here you go, you need this more than I do. You know, do whatever you want, more power to you if you feel comfortable using AI, but me personally, I grew up old school method, cheesing and, you know, doing the most bootlegged configurations, and that's what I'm sticking to. So I will continue using 10,000 Zoe voices on all the female survivors for as long as I see fit. Now, Half-Life is another Valve established game. However, there's two famous mods for Half-Life. The first one I want to talk about is Afraid of Monsters. This is a modded horror game based on the Half-Life engine, the Gold Source engine. So you play as a character called David, and I do not specifically recall the story. I know it has a story, but it's been too long, and I have not religiously played Afraid of Monsters as I have Cry of Fear, which I'll get to Cry of Fear later. But I loosely remember you playing as a character called David, and I think the whole entire thing is that he's going through a drug trip. I don't recall. Again, it's been a while. But yeah, pretty much the gold source engine does its job, especially in this game, that it's horror, it's scary, it's unsettling, at least to me. I was really scared of this when I played it as a kid. Now, unlike Cry of Fear, which again I'll get to later, for Afraid of Monsters, you would have to download it from a ModDB page and then install it into the Half-Life folder so it can be dependent on Half-Life, and then you'll be able to run Afraid of Monsters. But overall, the game was very good. I enjoyed it. Story was good. Again, I don't remember much of it because it has been a long time that I only have played it like maybe twice, unlike Cry of Fear, which I've played multiple times because I've enjoyed the hell out of that game. But Afraid of Monsters was one of the two big horror mod name games that you can name back in the day. So much so that later on it ended up having a crossover with Cry of Fear. But Afraid of Monsters was definitely a product of its time, and I had very fond memories of it, even though it scared the bejesus out of me. Now, once again, another horror mod made from Half-Life, which I mistakenly thought it was made from Half-Life 2's source engine, but I recently learned that it was indeed made on Half-Life 1's gold source engine, which is pretty damn impressive. So the second big name mod horror game that you can name back in ye old day is Cry of Fear. Now, unlike Afraid of Monsters, Cry of Fear is on Steam and you can download it for free and play it standalone separate from Half-Life. Cry of Fear is a very good game. I definitely enjoyed my time there. I have beaten the story over and over again. I have lost my save file because I've moved computers throughout the years, but I have beaten the original game before, and the game also has fun custom content that was community approved, so much so that some things were even deemed loosely part of the canon, while others are just fun what-ifs. So, one I want to talk about from Cry of Fear. First off, story mode. Spoiler alert. Story mode, you play as a character named Simon, and the entire game is him going through mental psychosis, because at the very start of the game, he gets into a car accident. Somebody purposely rams into him, or drunkenly rams into him. It's unclear what happened. But basically, he gets paralyzed from the waist down, and he hates everything. He hates life because he can't do things for himself. He just hates everything. So the entire game that you're going through is just in his mental psyche. The game has multiple endings as well, which is always a nice touch. Don't ask me how do you get specific set endings. I don't know. I think it's RNG. I could be wrong, but I believe it's RNG. I didn't really go out of my way to see if there was different routes I could take. I just played the game as is. Yeah, so there are what I like to call the Saw family. The first main one, I'm gonna go in correct order. The first main one, I believe you encounter the boss first. The boss is a tall, skinny, I call him like a punk type aesthetic because he has a bunch of nail piercings in his head or whatever. He has no eyes, but he has a big eye in the back of his back, and that's his weakness, and you're supposed to shoot him and kill him, and when you do enough damage to the back of his eye, he takes his chainsaw and decapitates himself. So the second one, I believe that one you encounter later. Again, maybe I could be wrong, it's been a while, but there's the Saw Runner, and that one really stood out to me the most because his theme was, oh my god, his theme was insane. And he would always make the loud noise whenever he would appear, and he would just run like a bat out of hell to you. In this custom map that I'm playing, which is a favorite custom map of mine that I always loved playing here and there, I'm showing the abilities and like the music that plays with him. Yeah, I did get jump scared because, again, it's been a while since I've played the main game and the custom campaign, so even though I remember some tidbits here and there, I did get jump scared. And yeah, so I'm pretty sure in the main game you can't kill him, but since this is a custom campaign, you can kill him. But yeah, his theme goes hard. That theme always stood with me, and he just looks so fucking creepy. So I'm glad in this custom campaign you're able to like essentially dunk on him, because he's always been dunking on you the entire main game. So I was very happy that in here, you know, if you hate this motherfucker, then you can get your vengeance against him. Then the next one, which also appears in this custom campaign, I call him like the emo rocker guy of the group, because he has long black hair and he dual wields chainsaws. I don't think he's killable, I could be wrong, but I don't think he's killable. And the last one that I want to mention, which is never seen, it's only heard, and this is just my headcanon, this is not a fact, is the Chainsaw Baby. In the main campaign, you're passing through an area when you hear a baby crying and a chainsaw revving up. Now, you may say to yourself, what if the implication is that the baby's getting killed? I like to personally think that it's a baby wielding a chainsaw, and it's part of the chainsaw family, so I call it the baby chainsaw. So that's just my personal canon. And I don't remember which custom campaign it is, but I know in one of the level selectors in here, there was the Afraid of Monsters Cry of Fear crossover where you could fight David, or you could fight Simon, you know, it's vice versa, doesn't matter, but the content is there. I just don't recall which campaign specifically. One thing I'd like to mention that always stood out for me in the main campaign was that there's this one segment where you need numbers for a door pad up and coming, and you suddenly get a phone call, and your character, Simon, he picks up, he's like, hello, who is this? And then you just hear heavy breathing on the other side of the line, and Simon keeps saying hello, and then the dude on the phone says, the numbers, remember the numbers. Then he tells you the numbers to the keypad, and then after that he says one of my favorite quotes from the game that sends shivers down my spine and is embedded deep in my memory. He's like, follow the path of iniquity, yield not to the light, darkness is your new master. But like in a very like deep, dark, you know, in like one of those horror tones that I can't mimicking it will not do it justice, but that scared the hell out of me when I was younger, and it just stood with me. That's how impactful it was. I really like that part. But yeah, overall, this Cry of Fear is a very good game. I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to play a modded horror game, and it's definitely a beautiful product of its time. Next, I want to talk about Gary's mod. There's really not much to say about Gmod, because Gmod is essentially do whatever the hell you want. There's infinite add-ons out there. As long as DMCA hasn't taken it down, you literally can do whatever you want, create whatever the hell you want. The possibilities are endless. Now, there are trillions of Gmod mods that I like and use, and if I mention all of them, we'll be here all day. So I'm going to mention only a very select few that really stood out to me the most. So the first one I want to mention is the In the End mod for Gmod, which is basically using Dr. Kleiner and Eli Vance as the two vocal choruses to sing the song In the End by Linkin Park. It's very funny and goofy, and I just enjoyed it overall. And one thing I always liked doing is that when it gets to the part where he's like, in the end, it doesn't even matter. If you remove one of the NPCs while that is happening, the music and all that vanishes, but the voice track still plays. So you just hear it literally echo in the map, singing the rest of the bit before it disappears, being like, in the end, it doesn't even matter. I tried so hard. And I don't know, I always found that like, it was mesmerizing to me, because it feels, I don't know, it just feels powerful. That's the best word I could describe to you, is that it feels powerful. Just hearing the echo of that song in the entire map. It's just, I don't know, it felt very powerful to me, and it's one of my most favorite and cherished mods in this game. And the last one I want to talk about, because again, Gmod has 10 trillion add-ons that I like, so I'm only picking the very select few that I really want to make noteworthy, is an emote wheel for a Gmod. Now, some games usually have emoticons that's mostly used to like multiplayer games or whatnot, like think of Fortnite and other online multiplayer games, but for me, the relevancy here, it would be Fortnite, because I do play Fortnite. And as well, not only does it do default Gmod animations, you also have imported emotes from Fortnite, or custom emotes that are just in Gmod. Like, for example, in the menu wheel, you got famous songs from Michael Jackson, Lady Gaga, Ricky Martin, Hadway, What Is Love, all that jazz. You know, just custom stuff here. And then you also have some Fortnite emotes imported in here. Some I recognize, some I don't, because I started playing Fortnite late, so I've missed out on a lot. But overall, it's just a fun, nice thing. And you even have some P4 music in here. Like, you know, there's a dance there from the Chad Narukami. But yeah, overall, it's just a fun, goofy thing. And it's nice to mess around with. And if I ever do more Gmod skits, I'll probably use some of these emoticons in the Gmod skits. But I just pretty much, like, just fool around with them. There's really not much thought to them. It's just cool. And, hey, somebody did this. I'm glad they did this. And, oh, I know this song. It's relevant to me. For Mass Effect 2, the one mod that I specifically want to point out is the Liara Teammate mod. Now, vanilla-wise, Liara only joins you if you play the Shadow Broker DLC, which is her entire mission. She only joins you for that segment. She is not a joinable teammate for the entire game of Mass Effect 2. However, with this mod, it makes it so that after you do her mission, because you could do her mission at any point, her mission is not time restricted. So whenever you do her mission, she will automatically join you as a teammate. Now, the downside being that she has 0 lines, excluding her own mission. After her own mission, she has 0 dialogue for the entire game. She doesn't say anything because obviously she's not meant to be a teammate of yours. So, regardless, I overlooked that downside because in my specific playthrough, I chose Liara as my lover. So I was happy to have her on my team again, you know, just having the wife with me going on missions. Sure, she was silent, excluding her mission, but regardless, I had her with me, and it was cool to just see her, you know, in places that she shouldn't be because, like, again, vanilla-wise, she's not supposed to be part of your team. So it was cool bringing her on the missions that I had, brought her in, and, you know, there was sort of a little bit of advantage there because, spoiler alert, if you're concerned about the suicide mission, you gotta prioritize specifically who you can pick because anybody can die there. But I sort of had the home field advantage because since Liara is a modded character, I didn't really have to essentially worry about there being a character loss because she's, you know, not part of the team. So I didn't really gotta worry much there. But besides game breaking stuff, overall I just enjoyed it because it's, again, my romantic partner, so it was nice having her along with my missions. Now, likewise, modding can also help restore cut content that was in a previous game. For example, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, there's cut dialogue between Anderson and Commander Shepard that was in the original Mass Effect 3. I don't know why they removed it. I felt like it added greatly to the scene, and to me, it definitely impacted me and made me cry. So this one is called Anderson's Final Conversation Restored, I believe it's called. I'll link it. It restores the parent and child kind of conversation that Anderson and Shepard has. The dialogue plays regardless if you're male Shep or femme Shep, so it's essentially a father-son or father-daughter bonding moment. And it's so impactful because Anderson has been like such a parental figure in all 3 games to you, trying to advise you, trying to help you the best he can, but also letting you do your own thing. So, spoiler alert, to see him die in here was very much a heart ripper. So the entire conversation that plays here just had me in absolute tears. I was in absolute shambles when playing this game. So I'm just gonna let the entire thing play out.
I never had a family, Shepard. Never had children. There'll be time enough for that now. I think that ship has sailed. What about you? Ever think about settling down?
Yeah. I like the sound of that. I'm not sure I'd be much good at it, though.
Sure you would. I think you'd make a great dad.
Uh-huh.
Think how proud your kids would be. Telling everyone their dad is Commander Shepard.
I don't know about that. Not everything I've done is something to be proud of.
Come here. I'm proud of you. You did good, son. You did good.
Thank you, sir. Anderson?
Yeah, that absolutely destroyed me. Mass Effect always had some sad moments there. 1 had a little bit of sadness, 2 had a little bit of sadness, but 3 absolutely destroyed my emotions. I cried a tsunami when it came to 3. I am not kidding when I say that the trilogy was like the most impactful thing I've ever played in my entire gaming history. Like, to me personally, it is just... It is deserved to be on a pedestal. I'm sorry. Me personally, I can't see any other game like match the detail, the love, the attention, the grasp, like how immersed I felt in that world, how I felt such truly like I was a part of that world. No other game has come close to that. and that's just my personal take, my personal view on it. But yeah, it's truly a beautiful thing, and I'm glad that modders restored that impactful scene back, because I don't know why it was cut. Maybe the implication not to try to, you know, force people into becoming a prem, which personally I think you're reading too deep into it. I don't think that's the case. But overall, yeah, I'm just happy that the mod restored the beautiful scene back to how it should be. So this is just a very short, quick one I wanted to mention. I felt like it was worthy to mention. This is just my personal preference on it. So for Silent Hill 2 Remake, there's a mod where you can put Maria back in the outfit from the original game. Not to say there's anything wrong with her remake outfit. I don't mind her remake outfit, but I'm so used to seeing her in the OG outfit that I just had to use this mod, and to me, it just felt like, damn, that is Maria. Again, nothing wrong with her vanilla outfit. I just got too used to her original outfit, so I personally have my preference to play with her in her original outfit from the original Silent Hill 2 game on the PS2. So the Dragon Ball modding scene has always been the hotness of the century. Modding going back as far as Budokai Tenkaichi 3 making Budokai Tenkaichi 4, same thing with Xenoverse getting modded, etc, etc. What I want to talk about is Sparking Zero's modding, which I personally find the easiest to mod. Now, there are a bunch of Sparking Zero mods, because when it comes to Dragon Ball, sky's the limit. You have no limitations when it comes to Dragon Ball. But the ones that I specifically want to mention that I very fancied the most is Xeno Goku and Xeno Vegeta. Specifically Xeno Vegeta. While Xeno Goku is alright, Xeno Vegeta I felt the most impressed with. This mod is by the Idiot Lenin. And this is pretty much Super Dragon Ball Heroes Vegeta, and he has some custom moves that I found very cool, and it was impressed with it, especially in here, because you expect sometimes mods to look a little jank, especially with, I don't know what engine this is running in, and this is like definitely far beyond my capabilities, but they made it work, and I was very impressed with Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and then Super Saiyan 4 Full Power Vegeta. I very much enjoy his moves, and it feels very impactful. Next one is Diama Goku by MEG84. Now this one, I was absolutely blown away, because vanilla-wise, we don't have adult Daima Goku, we have kid Daima Goku. So this mod not only brings adult Daima Goku, but actually recreates a transformation of him going Super Saiyan 3 and then Super Saiyan 4. I was thoroughly impressed with this mod. Shout out to this individual that made this mod, because god damn.
Now, to go even further beyond, get a load of this. And now I'll show you the power of Super Saiyan 4!
The next one is Ultra Vegeta Blue by ALBYRX. I'm not gonna bother pronouncing that. But this Vegito seems to be inspired by his moveset from Dragon Ball Legends, which is a mobile game. But overall, I'm very impressed by this Vegito. This was so cool. I like using his moves. I like using the counter, his supers, all that. It was very cool, and it makes fun combat against the bots. And the last one I want to mention is Revival GT Goku, Super Saiyan 3 / Super Saiyan 4. But specifically the one I used is Super Saiyan 4. Now, this is by XIBRAL, and they made this mod so good. They even have a video linked to their specific channel where they showcase their mod and showcase their revival mechanic, because I can't get that to pop off since the bots don't kill me. But I specifically use GT Goku, and I like the way he moves, and it's also inspired by Dragon Ball Legends. And overall, it's very fun, very good. I enjoyed it, and goddamn, I am looking forward to the continued modding scene in Sparking Zero.